Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is Yevamos Daf Chof Aleph. We are holding 10 lines from the top of the Amud. Amar Rava, Remez l'shniyos min Torah minayin. Min Torah, certain noshim are asur for marriage. They are considered aroyos. The Rabbanan added shiniyos, secondary arayos, the next level, next generation, to a concern that one might confuse one with the other. A person might actually interact with an erva herself. We create that extra barrier. We impose these added restrictions, and we add additional arayos. Those are called the shniyos. How do we know that these are meant to be asur? Remez l'shniyos min Torah minayin. Find me a hint in the Torah which will serve as the basis for this added restriction. Now the Mefarshim point out that, of course, we have many gzeres, siyogim, takonos imposed by the Chachamim throughout the Torah. Why is it that specifically in this case we look for a remez? The answer is because here we're speaking about restricting marriage, which involves that great mitzvah of peru urevu. We need to find a remez that will allow that will justify imposing these added restrictions. Remez l'shniyos min Torah minayin shnemar. In the Parsha of Arayos it says, Ki es kol ha'evos ha'el also anshe haaretz. The people of the land, the Canaanim, they were engaged in all these inappropriate behaviors. The word ha'el means kashos, severe, serious offenses. We have a diuk. These are serious. Arayos are kashos. They are ha'el. Mechlal de ikarakis. Apparently there are additional arayos, less severe, softer ones. Umayninu. That's referring to what? Shniyos. Here we have a makar, a remez, a hint to the concept of shniyos. We have the more prominent, severe, primary arayos, and behind them we have the shniyos min derabbanan. Umay mashman de ha'el lishna de kashehu. What do we find that the word ha'el is a reference to something severe and prominent? The chsives elei haaretz lokach. Melech Bavel came to Eretz Yisrael and he took away the leaders, the prominent leaders of Yerushalayim. Elei is a lashon of prominence, strength, severity. Says the Marleima Pliga de Rab Levi. Perhaps this is a machlekes. This is a dispute of Rab Levi, who seems to say otherwise. Damar Rab Levi kasha einshin shel midos. One who is negligent when it comes to measurements. So he doesn't deal honestly in his store. The consequence of that inappropriate behavior is more difficult and more severe and more consequential. Even more difficult than the consequence of inappropriate arayis behaviors. Why? Because by arayis all we have is el. As we just mentioned, we have the word kol ha'teves ha'el. V'zeh nemar behen eila. By midos, by measures, by dishonest business practices, we have the lashon eileh. Ki to'avas Hashem elikecha kol oiseh eileh. Eileh is severe. Eileh is chomer. Eileh is kasha. It would seem from Reb Levi that eileh is difficult, but not eil of arayos. And says the Gemara, they're both right. Eil, of course, is kasha. Arayos are something severe. Ve'ela kashem eil. But the word eileh, the added hey, indicates additional severity, even more important and more serious. And that applies to midos, which stands higher than arayos. Well, gabarayos nami yoksiv eileh. By arayos as well, we have the lashon eileh. Ki kol hashayasim kol teves eileh. So why do you say that midos are more severe? Arayos also contain the word eila. Hahula mu'te midos mikaris. Eila by arayos is simply coming to exempt, exclude dishonest business practices from karis. These have karis. Arayos result in karis, but not dishonest business practice. Elamai chumrayu. If that's the case, it would seem that arayos are more severe. Kares is generated by erva. Why do we suggest that midos are more chomer than arayis? Answers the Gemara, there's an element of chomer applicable to dishonest behavior that is not inherent in arayis. Hani efsha b'tshuva. Inappropriate arayis behavior can always be rectified through tshuva. Hani lo efsha b'tshuva, but inappropriate business practices can't necessarily be rectified. How would he know who he was dealing with? He dealt with so many customers. Very difficult to undo that. Points out the Taisus Arash. Although the Gemara Chagiga seems to say that arayis behavior can result in a situation of no return if he generated a mamzer, etc. Why then does the Gemara say that arayis can always have tshuva? Says the Taisus Arash. Of course, there's something difficult, something very very consequential by generating a child through arayis. The oven is there. It's a fact on the ground, but the person can always do tshuva, and he says, Ein lecha davar oimed pnei tshuva. The chefza, the actual avera is there. It's a real reality, but the personal factor, the gavra aspect of the avera can always be fixed up and remedied through tshuva. Bottom line is we have a makar, a remez to the concept of shniyos minat Torah. Ki es kol te'evas ha'el. El is difficult, is kasha, is chomer, which indicates that there are some arayis that are there but are not as chomer. The shniyos min the rabbanon. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Mehacha, I have another makar. V'izin v'chiker tiken mishalom harbe. Shlomo HaMelech judged, evaluated. He was masakin. He explained. He created barriers around the Torah. V'amar ula amar b'lazar. Koydem sheba Shlomo, prior to Shlomo HaMelech's arrival. Hoysa Torah doima lekfifa she'ein lo oznaim. Torah was compared to a basket without handles. No grip, it just slips right out of your hands. Very difficult to guard. Ad sheba Shlomo, until Shlomo came, v'asla lo oznaim. He created handles. He created gzeros. For instance, shniyos la'arayis, which allows you to grip the Torah. Basically, it prevents you from accessing the arayis themselves. By forming that added safeguard, that added security ring, so to speak, around the arayis of Torah, you are prevented from accessing the Torah arayis themselves. This ensures proper grip and proper safeguarding of the Torah itself. Here's a makar for shniyos. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Mehacha, of another makar, pra'eyu. Reveal it. Expand the Torah. Al tavor bois atemi olav avor. Don't go through the Torah. Don't trample on the Torah. Don't trespass the Torah. Al tavor boy. How do you do so? By creating extra gedorim and syogim and gates around the Torah. Omar Vashi, ma shod Rav Yehuda, lema hadavar doime. Rav Yeshuda's discussion, Rav Yeshuda's chiddush, can be compared, can be analyzed as follows. La'adam shemeshamer pardis. It's analogous to a person safeguarding an orchard. Meshamer mibachutz. There are two ways to guard the orchard, from the outside or from the inside. Which is better, of course, from the outside. Because then kulei mishtamer. Everything is safeguarded, because he's observing the perimeter and preventing any intruders from accessing the pardis itself. So the entire pardis is fully guarded. But mishamri mibifnim, if he's standing inside and looking out from there, it's only a partial job. Shilafanav mishtamer, what's directly in front of him, he can keep an eye on and watch it. However, shalachrav, what's behind him, any mishtamer is going to be neglected and exposed. So that's the point of creating gzeros and shniyos around the Torah, to safeguard the pardis of Torah. Response to Gemara, not exactly. The analogy isn't perfect. Voda Rav Ashi bedusahi. This analogy of Rav Ashi is just an expression, but not really properly grounded. Why? Hasam shalafad of miyamish tamer. When he's in the pardis and watching, at least what's in front of you is fully guarded. Hacha, when it comes to gzeros around the Torah, you'll have shniyos. If not for shniyos, Paga be'erva gufa, he'll perhaps access the erva itself if you don't keep him 2 steps away. So nothing is safeguarded, everything is exposed and vulnerable. Rav Kahana Amar Mihacha. Here's another makar for Shnias L'Arayis. In the Parsha of Arayis we have Ushmartim es Mishmartim. We learn Asu Mishmeres the Mishmarti, create another safeguard around my restrictions. That's referring to Shnias L'Arayis. Omle Abaylo Rav Yosef Hadaraisi. Well, if it's based on this pasuk of Ushmartim, then why is it the Rabbanon? It's a pasuk in the Torah. Yeah, Dairaisa Pishu Rabbanon. Of course, it's based on a pasuk, but the Rabbanon will refarish it. They expounded and they elaborated on the pasuk and applied it to Shniyah. So it's a Rabbanon. Well, Kol HaTorah Nami. Well, everything else in the Torah as well. All the mitzvahs Dairaisa in the Torah also required elaboration on account of the Chacham and Pishu Rabbanon, and still we consider them mitzvahs minat Torah just because the Rabbanon elaborated. It doesn't take it away from being a mitzvah minat Torah. So why is this any different? If it's based on a pasuk, then it's minat Torah. It's not midrabanan. Ela midrabanan. Rather, says the Gemara, of course, Shniyos is rooted in din derabanan. Although we have a pasuk across machta ba'amos just as support, but not really a bona fide source for Shniyos, which are merely midrabanan. The bottom line is we have no less than 4 makuris, 4 remazim or smachtes to the concept of Shniyos le'arayis. What are Shniyos? Tana Rabbanon. Mahim Shniyos. Give me a list of the Shniyos le'arayis. We're going to have a total of 8 examples of Shniyos le'arayis in this price. Okay, let's start with Aim Imai, which is really based on Imai. You see, Minat Torah Imai is Asr. On account of Imai, Chacham added and extended and expanded it to Aim Imai, mother's mother, and also Ve'aim Aviv, father's mother, which can be confused with mother's mother, which can go down and be confused with mother. So the source here is, the basis here is, the Erva Minat Torah called Imai. On account of Imai, we have Aim Imai, which is very close by, and Aim Aviv, which is basically a step away, but very close in nature to Aim Imai, and therefore we bundle them together. We have 2 Shniyas L'Arayis on account of Imai. Next we have is the erva called Eshes Aviv, father's wife. So basically his stepmother. That's Asa Minat Torah. On account of that erva Minat Torah, Chacham added 2 Shniyas, secondary arayis, which are close and similar in nature to the Eshes Aviv, which is Asa Minat Torah. What are those? Eshes Avi Aviv, wife of his father's father, so step-grandmother, which is basically 1 step away from Eshes Aviv. And also, on account of that, we have Eshes Avi Imai, wife of his mother's father, which is very similar to the first case of Eshes Avi Aviv, and therefore we bundle them together. Both grandmothers, both step-grandmothers, are Asa Midrabanan. Thirdly, we have an erva called Eshes Achi Aviv, wife of your father's brother, with whom he shares a father. Very important. So Eshes Achi Aviv Mina'av is a erva Minat Torah, an aunt, a proper aunt. The Shniyos Midrabanan added to that are as follows: 2 other women which are similar in title, similar relatives to this Eshes Achi Aviv Mina'av. Who are they? One on your mother's side and one on your father's side. On the mother's side, it's as follows. On the father's side, is as follows. Ve'eshes Achi Ha'av, the wife of his father's brother, Mina'im, with whom he shares a mother. So it's not really a proper brother. It's a half-brother with whom he shares a mother. And that brother's wife is a Shniyah Midrabanan. And we have one on your mother's side as well. Ve'eshes Achi'im, the wife of his mother's brother Mina'av, with whom she shares a brother. So she has a proper brother, with whom she shares a father. So it's a proper brother. And the Ikar relatives are based on fatherhood and based on sharing a father. So it's his mother's brother with whom she shares a father. That fellow's wife is a Shniyah. So pretty much we're bundling together this type of ant, that type of ant, on account of the Iker Isser Daraisa, which is father's brother's wife. Father's brother with whom he shares a father, his wife, which is Erev Min HaTorah. On account of that, we added the other ants as well. Now actually, the Gemara soon on Amud Beis will tell us there should be another one here as well. The mother's brother, with whom she shares a mother, right? So it's a half brother from their mother. That fellow's wife as well. So it's Eshes Achi Imay Min Ha'em. That's also similar in nature to the other ones. All these ants are called Shniyos. So the four possible ants, one of them is Min HaTorah. Eshes Achi Aviv Min Ha'av. Once again, that means father's brother with whom he shares a father. That fellow's wife, that's Min HaTorah. And the other three variations of ants are only Midrabanan. And again, the point is because they're so close in nature, we're afraid about confusion, mixing things up, and therefore Chacham applied restrictions on all those variations. The fourth category involves Kala. Kala, in the Mishnah and Gemara terminology, refers to a daughter-in-law. So his brother's wife, which is an Erva Min HaTorah, of course. On account of that Erva Min HaTorah, we added two similar variations of relatives. One is V'kalas B'nai, his son's daughter-in-law. So his son's wife, that's not Asam Min HaTorah, that's only a Shniya. And similar to that is V'kalas B'tai, his daughter's daughter-in-law. So his daughter's son's husband. So both these are only Shniyos in Darbanan because they are similar. They are also because of their similarity to the Issa Daraisa, which is Kala, his own daughter-in-law. So basically, you see, we have four categories, four types of Eroyis Min HaTorah, which generate, each one generates its own Shniya. Once again, you have Imay, and on account of that, we have the Shniyos of Eim Imay and Eim Aviv. And soon the Gemara explained to us that, typically we don't say make a gzera on top of a gzera on top of a gzera, right? So Imoy is the erva. Similar to that is Eim Imoy, mother's mother. Why do we go to Eim Aviv, which is on the other side of the family? That would seem to be two steps away from Imoy. And the Gemara says, well, you know what? Eim Imoy, Eim Aviv are very similar. They're titled very similarly. They're both considered like grandmothers. One doesn't necessarily differentiate between this type of grandmother and the other. Bei Ima Rabsa, they refer to them as, well, that's my grandmother's family. So therefore, we bundle them all together, and they are both Asr. Next down the line, we have Eishes Av, which is Erev Min HaTorah. On account of that, we say Eishes Avi Aviv is also Asr. And likewise, Eishes Avi Ima, although it's the other side of the family, based on the same rationale, because both are called Bei Abu Rabsa, the family of a grandfather. Min HaTorah, the Eishes Achi Aviv Min HaAv is Asr. But on account of that, we impose restrictions on all the other ants as well. Eishes Avi Aviv Min HaEim, Eishes Achi Aviv Min HaEim, Eishes Achi Imay Min HaAv, and Eishes Achi Imay Min HaEim. And the point is, again, because they're all considered ants, Bei Doidi, we don't differentiate. Finally, we have Kalasai, daughter-in-law, which is also Min HaTorah. On account of that, we have Kalas B'nai, Kalas B'tai. His son's Kala, his daughter's Kala. Now, his son's Kala, we understand. It's very similar to his own Kala. It's just one generation further down. What about Kalas B'tai? The Gemara says, well, one might mix things up. It might be Machlif Kalas B'tai with Kalas B'nai, and therefore, they're both Asr, they're both Shniyos L'Arayis. Continues the Brisa with some intriguing formulas here. A mutter adam ve'eshes chamev. What is mutter with the wife of his father-in-law? There's no relation there. Ube'eshes charga. Likewise, with the wife of his stepson, his wife's son's wife. No relation there. V'aser b'bas charga. But he's aser on the daughter of his stepson, which is basically his wife's granddaughter. There's a pasuk, one may not marry his wife's granddaughter, even though it's not his offspring. Likewise, his own stepson, his wife's son may marry his wife. No relation there. Ubitoi. And his stepson may marry his daughter. No relation there. Ve'eshes chorga. Here comes something very interesting. The wife of his stepson, which is mutter with him, no relation there. Oimeres will turn to him and say, look, isn't it this interesting thing? Ani muteres lach. Look, I am mutter in you. Right? No relation there. But, ubiti asur lach. My own daughter cannot marry you. Right? So his wife's son's wife is mutter to him. But his wife's daughter, which is basically his wife's granddaughter, is asur. As a pasuk, one may not engage with his wife's offspring. So I'm mutter to you, but my daughter not. Interesting. Continues the Gemara. You're telling me that Bas Chorgo is asur. Daughter of his stepson is asur. It seems like we're speaking about midrabanan. And that's the topic of conversation. Well, guess what? That's the Iraisa. Bas Chorgo the Iraisa. Marrying the son of his stepson, which is basically his wife's. Marrying the daughter of his stepson, which is basically his wife's granddaughter, is also not Torah. It's not a shniyas midrabanan. As bas b'nav as bas bita. Granddaughter of your wife is also. That's not a shniya. Why would the Bryce even discuss this type of erva? We mentioned because of the intriguing formula presented in the Sefer, which is Eishes Chorgoi, right? The wife of his stepson turns to him and says, Ani materes lach, look, I can marry you, ubiti asulach, but not my daughter, which is an interesting, intriguing formula. And the chilish is v'afagav the biti asulach mederaisa, although my daughter, again, this is his stepson's wife, is turning to the fellow and telling him, look, my daughter cannot marry you mederaisa. V'afagav the biti asulach mederaisa, b'didi legaza be'rabban, still Chacham did not impose any restrictions on me, even though I'm very close by. So we wanted to get that fact out. That's why the Reishis discussed the Issa Bas Chorgoi, although it's Issa Midaraisa. We make mention of it in order to highlight this interesting point. That in this case, there's no Gzir of Shnia. If that's the case, that we're trying to highlight these interesting situations, then what about the following? Eishes Chamiv, the wife of his father-in-law, Nami, Tema, she can also say as follows. She'll declare, Ani muteres lach. I am mutter in you. Ubiti, but my daughter, which is really your wife's sister, asur lach is asur. Right? Wife's sister is asur. So I'm mutter, my daughter is asur. Because she's your wife's sister. Why don't we mention that as well? The answer is hapsikale. The first example of the Eishes Chorgoi with the Bas Chorgoi, that's an absolute value. Hole psikale. But this last example is not absolute because remember, Achos Ishta is only Asr while his wife is living. So it's not an absolute Isser. Therefore we don't mention it in the Bryce. Okay, so bottom line is we had a Bryce presenting us with a list of all the Shniyas. We have the total of 8 examples of shniyos. Amarav arba noshim yesh lahem hefsek. 4 of these shniyos have hefsek, are limited. Those are asr, but it doesn't go any further down the line or up the line. You see, basically, the way Rashi explained and the Farshim elaborate, there are 2 types of shniyos. One is where you have an erva, and then you take it a step further. And a step further. Imoy is erva. Amy imoy. Mother's mother, that's shniyos. Amy imoy. Great grandma, shniyos. You see, but the reason for the gzera there is because you might confuse it with the first generation. Somewhere in that line, somewhere in that branch, you have an Issa Deraisa. And therefore we extend the Issa further up the line. In those cases, there is no hefsek. We just keep on going. No matter how far you go, how far up, how far down, it remains asa because you might actually run into the Erva herself, which is close by. So although you already removed 3, 4 generations, doesn't matter. We're concerned about that erva that's in that neighborhood. Whereas there are other types of shniyos which are also on account of their similarity. They're similar in title and nature and relationship. They appear doime, they're similar to the erva. Various types of ants, etc. It's different than the case of, we just mentioned the imoy, where she's usher and therefore we extend it further up the line. In the case of an ant, or similar cases, that's not the reason for the isser. It's because they're similar in nature. They appear similar to the isser herself. Says Rav, in those cases, yesh lahem hefsek. Those nashim are usher, but if you take it a step further, there's no isser. In the case of the ants, let's say. So he said the wife of his mother, his brother, is usher. There's no Issa D'Oraisa in that neighborhood. Nothing at all. Issa D'Oraisa is only by his father's brother's wife. The reason why we are imposing an Issa on mother's brother's wife is because it's similar in nature, it's an ant. But that's it. We don't take it a step further. Mother's brother's wife wouldn't be usher. That's not an ant, that's a great ant. Etc., etc. So if it's on account of the erva that's somewhere in that branch, then everything is usher. But if it's simply because it's similar, it's reminiscent of an erva, then whatever is reminiscent is usher, but otherwise not. Amarav arba noshim yesh lan hefsek. The following 4 women are usher, and the isser is limited to themselves. It doesn't go past them. It doesn't go into the next generation. Which are the 4 women? Noked Rav biyodei tlas. Rav knew about 3, but the 4th one he wasn't sure of. Which are the 3? The one that we just mentioned. Eishes achia eimen av. The 2 aunts. The wife of his mother's brother with whom she shares a father. So a proper brother, that brother's wife. Ve'eshes achia av min on the father's side as well. His father's brother with whom he shares a mother. So it's not really a proper brother. That fellow's wife. Those women are us, but let's say it's his father's brother's wife. That's not us. V'kalosei. Same when it comes to daughter-in-law. And the Gemara soon will tell us we're speaking about kalas bitoi. Kalas bitoi is daughter-in-law. There's no Issa D'Oraisa to be found in that branch at all. Issa D'Oraisa is only his own daughter-in-law, right? His own son's wife. But if it's his daughter's son's wife, that's only reminiscent of an erva, and that's not really. It's not. There's no erva in that neighborhood, and therefore the Isser is restricted and limited to Isha herself. But if you go down the line further, his daughter's daughter-in-law, that wouldn't be us. As opposed to what? Okay, so we just mentioned before, because there are others which will extend further. For instance, the imoy, which goes into aim imoy, which goes further into aim imoy, etc., etc., because in that branch, in that line, you have an Issa D'Oraisa. So just keep on going. We don't differentiate between 2, 3, 4, 5 generations. It just keeps on going. Uziri Moisif. So Rav mentioned 4, but he only expressed 3. Zira says, I found the 4th one. Uziri Moisif af Eshes avi imoy. So you have the erva of Eshes av. Right? On account of that, we add Eshes avi aviv, father's wife, and Eshes avi imoy, mother's father's wife. Now in the case of Eshes avi aviv, all agree there's no hefsek, just keeps on going. It can be Eshes avi aviv, Eshes avi avi aviv, Eshes avi avi aviv, because there's something there that's midaraisa, i.e. Eshes aviv. So in that line you find an ever midaraisa, so just keep on going. What about from his mother's side? Eshes avi imay, his mother's father's wife. That's a shnia. Do we take it further? His mother's father's wife? Or do we say no? only mother's father's wife, and that's it. So Rav seemed to hold that we take it even further. We don't stop at the first generation. We keep on going. Zeiri disagreed. Eishes avi imai is the final and last stop. It doesn't go further. It doesn't go to Eishes avi imai. Amar Rachmar Yitzchak b'simonach. A good simon to remember what Zeiri added. D'iloi de Rav. Zeiri was adding. Zeiri's fourth example was one generation higher than Rav. Eishes avi imai. Right? Because Rav spoke about Eishes achia aim, that's ants. And that's generally one generation above this fellow. And Zeiri added an example which was really two generations up in the air. Eishes avi imai, two generations up and removed from this fellow, and it stops right there. It doesn't go past that. So you have a good simon to remember what Zeiri was adding. Now, why didn't Rav include this on his list? Rav, my time, why didn't he agree with Zeiri? The answer is Michlafalei be'eshes avi aviv. Rav held that when it comes to Eshes aviv, which is Issa Derais, which generated the Shnia called Eshes avi aviv, right? And also the Shnia called Eshes avi imai, we don't want to stop there. We want to impose that Isser on Eshes avi imai as well. You know why? Although there isn't really an Issa Deraisa in that neighborhood at all. Remember, we're speaking about his mother's side now. Eshes avi imai. That's dissimilar to Eshes aviv. So, wouldn't it suffice to make the Isser on that itself? Why are you going further? The answer is because it can be confused and mixed up with Eshes avi aviv, which might take you down to Eshes aviv. And therefore we say, you know what? Just keep on going. Just like by Eshes avi aviv, we just keep on going, Eshes avi aviv, avi, all the way up the ladder. Likewise, by avi imai, we don't differentiate between Eshes avi imai and Eshes avi imai and Eshes avi imai. Uzi Iri. What does the Iri do with this argument? When it comes to father's family, a person frequents that part of his family more commonly frequents that part of his family. He's closer to them, and therefore, in that case, there's a real chashash. Look, if you're going to be mater, Eshes avi aviv, it might eventually lead to Eshes aviv. But when it comes to mother's side, avi imai, he's not so. He doesn't hang around there too much, and therefore the gzeira is less prevalent. It is sufficient to go make the gzeira on Eshes avi imai on account of Eshes avi aviv, and that's it. But we don't go further. We don't take it past that point to Eshes avi imai. La'asam shech va'azl. He commonly frequents his father's family. La'achal shech va'azl. But when it comes to mother's family, he doesn't necessarily frequent them so commonly. Okay. So bottom line is, Rav tells us 4 nashim have hefsek. He stated 3, and Zeiri added the 4th. We have one kasha on Rav, who mentioned amongst his 4 nashim, kalosai. Kalosai deraisi. What do you mean? Daughter-in-law, that's Issa deraisi. That's not shniyah. It's a sib. Erves kalosai segala. Ema kalas p'noi v'kalas p'noi. He didn't mean daughter-in-law literally. He meant son's daughter-in-law, which is a shniyah. And only she is usher, but we don't extend it further down the line and say, well, kala of ben b'noi should be usher as well. Really? Is that so? But kalas b'noi yesh lahefsik? Is that true that it stops right there? But Tanya, the Brisa seems to say otherwise. That the shniyah of kalas b'noi keeps on going down the line. Son's daughter-in-law, grandson's daughter-in-law. Brisa says like this, Vatanya, Kalosai, the first generation, Kala, the daughter-in-law, is Erva. That's Menatir. Take it a step down, Kalas B'noi, that's a Shnia. It doesn't stop there. Goes all the way down the line. Apparently, there's no hefsek there. And the reason is, again, because once there's an Erva D'Oraisa in that branch, in that line, you just keep on going. Ela'ema Kalas B'noi. Rabbi was referring to the daughter-in-law of his daughter. And there is no Erva Menatir on that line. Right? The Erva Menatir is only daughter-in-law, son's wife. So we say son's wife and son's wife, etc., etc. But when it comes to the daughter side of the family, there's no Issa D'Oraisa there at all. It starts and ends with Issa D'Rabbanan, so we limit it to the first generation, Kalas B'noi. The Amar of Chizda. Why at all is Kalas B'noi Yasser? Ha Milsa, the following explanation. Migava Rabbi Shmieli. I heard it from a great man. Umanai. Who was that? Rabbi Yami. Who said like this. Lo Yasru Kala. Why did they impose an Isser on one version of Kala? Elo Pnei Kala, on account of the other version. Sounds like a cryptic formula. What exactly did he have in mind? As follows. V'amuli Kaldoi. He meant to know, says Rav Chizda, that the stargazers had once told me, Melaf Nahaves, you're going to be a wise man. Now, I was working with that charter. I'm going to be a wise man. I'm going to understand things. So when I heard this statement, this formula from Rabbi Ami, that one kala is also on account of the other, I wasn't sure how it's going to end up. I figured, Igava Rabba Havina, if these stargazers meant that I'm going to be a great man on my own, then I'll be zeicha to understand Rabbi Ami's formula on my own. But if I end up teaching children, I'll be a regular member of the Beis HaKnesses, and I'll ask the Rabbanon who come visit the Beis HaKnesses. So either way, I'll figure out what Rav Ami had in mind. It turns out, it turns out that I figured it out on my own. And the explanation is as follows. He meant, why at all did they make an Isra by Kalas B'noi? There is no Tzad, Isra D'Oraisa in that part of the family at all. The reason? Mishum Kalas B'noi. It can be confused with his son's daughter-in-law. And on that line, in that branch of his family, there is Isra D'Oraisa, daughter-in-law. Isra D'Oraisa. And therefore we say son's daughter-in-law as well, and son's daughter-in-law as well. On account of that, we make an Isra on Kalas B'noi as well. We put it together in one bundle, one package. But it stops right there. Right? On son, we just keep on going. Because in Issa D'Oraisa there, the first level is Issa D'Oraisa. Son's wife is Asim Natur. So we extend and expand it into the next generation, all the way down the line. When it comes to Kalas B'noi, well, there is no Issa D'Oraisa possibility at all in that part of the family. Suffice to say that she is Asr on account of Kalas B'noi, but that's it. We don't expand it and extend it into Kalas Bas B'noi and Kalas Bas B'noi and Kalas Bas Bas B'noi, etc. And therefore Kala has Hefsek. I'll show you an example of a family which featured both types of daughter-in-laws, son's daughter-in-law and daughter's daughter-in-law. The house of Bar Tzisoi, we have it. Papa, I'm going to Kasel Bar Papa, the house of Papa, Barabba. Ravashi, I'm going to Kasel Bar Mari Bar Isak, in that family. We are to find both versions of daughter-in-laws. Okay, let's get back to the list of shniyos. We made slight mention of this Gemara before. When it comes to the shniyos pertaining to ants, the Brisa mentioned two versions of shniyos. We also mentioned a third version as well. The Gemara will elaborate on that now. What about the wife of his mother's brother? Now his mother and her brother only share a mother. Mina'im. Ma'u, what is the status of that fellow's wife? You see, in this case, there is no father element to be found at all in that relationship. His mother's brother, with whom she shares only a mother. That's completely removed and dissimilar from the Issa Deraisa, which is limited to father's brother with whom he shares a father, that fellow's wife. So here's sort of 2 steps removed. Not only isn't it on his father's side, it's his mother's brother, but they're half brothers. They only share a mother. There's no element of father at all. Very little basis for confusion with the Erva Deraisa. So what would you say in this case? Now the Braisa mentioned 2 examples of ants, but both of them have an element of fatherhood in them and can be confused with the real thing. But not this one, which has absolutely no element of fatherhood. Ma'u. What would you say in this case? Let's take it apart. Eishes achi ha'im min ha'av. The Braisa mentioned the wife of his father's brother, min ha'im, with whom he shares a mother. There's an element of fatherhood there. It's his father's brother. Or, in the case of Eishes achi ha'im min ha'av, his mother's brother, with whom she shares a father. So that fellow's wife. In both, the Ikut Tzad Av, there's some element of father. Who the Gaz Rabbanon, I understand why the Rabbanon will make a gzer on account of his father's brother's wife, and that father and that brother share a father. But in this case, where it's his mother's brother with whom she only shares a mother, there's no element of fatherhood at all. Perhaps like Gaz Rabbanon did not make a gzer. Perhaps there's no difference. They're all in the same boat. Interesting shayla. Amar of Safra, of course there's no Isser. Higu for Gzera. The ants mentioned in the Braisa are all Gzeras. They're close and similar in nature to the real thing. Fanan, Nekum, Vinigzer, Gzera. Can we go ahead and apply a double Gzera to this case as well? That's 2 steps removed. We never do that. Amar Rava says, Rava, 1 second. I have news for you. Take a look at all the Shniyas. Atu Kulu Lav Gzera, Gzera Ninu. All the Shniyas should have that same concern. They're all double gzeras. For instance, Imoy Erva. Let's go down the list in the Braisa. Imoy is an Erva, right? First generation Erva. Aim Imoy Shniya. That mother's mother is 1 generation removed. That's called a Shniya. We don't stop there. We take it a step further as well. Why is his father's mother Asa? Because of his mother's mother, which is only Asa on account of his mother. There you go. I double gzera. And what's the reason? What time am I? How do we justify this gzera l'gzera? Because it's not really. Kulu dvei ima rabasi korila. They all refer to the grandmother as the bei ima rabasi. Ima is a mother, rabasi a great grandmother. The family of the great grandmother. We don't differentiate between father's mother, mother's mother. It's all one same thing. So the gzera only holds if we make a comprehensive gzera on all grandmothers. It's not called gzera l'gzera. All elements and components of that gzera are needed to uphold the gzera. In similar fashion, we have Eishes Aviv, his father's wife, his stepmother. That's an erva minatur. On account of that, we have also Eishes Avi Aviv, wife of his father's father. That's a shniya. We don't stop there. We take it a step further. We apply a gzera to the wife of his mother's father as well. Mishum Eishes Avi Aviv, on account of his step grandmother, his father's wife. What do you mean? Isn't it gzera? No, it's not. For the same reason, the time of my wife, kulu debei abba rabba korelei. All these are considered family of his great grandfather. Whether it's this side or that side, it's all one big thing. We don't want to draw a line and make distinctions which will create confusion. Another example of this argument is Eishes Achi Av Min Av, the wife of his father's brother, with whom he shares a father, a proper brother, so his aunt, that's an erva. On account of that, we have the other examples, Eishes Achi Av Min Aim, the wife of his father's brother, with whom he only shares a mother, that's Mutter Min HaTorah, it's a Shniya, right? And on account of that, we have on his mother's side as well another example of an aunt who's only a shniya. They impose the gzera on his mother's brother with whom she shares a father, a proper brother, that fellow's wife, is asur mishum eishes achia av min eim, on account of the other women, the eishes, the wife of his father's brother with whom he only shares a mother, which in itself is only a Issa D'Rabbanan on account of the real aunt, which is his father's brother with whom he shares a father's wife. Why do we do that? Because all are considered aunts. We can't differentiate. So getting back to our case, perhaps here as well, his mother's brother. Mother and brother only share a mother. That fellow's wife perhaps is asur as well. It's an aunt like the other ones. So although it's 2-3 steps removed, it doesn't matter. We bundle them all together in one package. Mai, what would you say? Tashma, we have a right that it's asur. Rabbi Yehuda when he came from Eretz Yisrael, Amar, Amri b'marav in Eretz Yisrael, they said as follows. This is the formula to follow. Kol shabina keva erva. Any relative, if she was a female, she would be an erva to you, minater. B'zachar, let's say instead of being a female, she's a male. Right, so the same type of relative is now a male. Gozru al ishtem shem shniya, and this fellow is married to an isha. That isha is a shniya. So if you sort of substitute the female for a male, that male's wife is a shniya. That's the formula to follow. V'amar Rav, and Rav asked him that, uklalahu, you mean it's an absolute formula? I have some kashas. Chamoisai, mother-in-law, that's an erva, not Torah. You substitute that for a man. How do you do that? Instead of mother-in-law, it's father-in-law. Father-in-law's wife. Eishes chamiv, muteris, no relation there. Totally mutter to you. So apparently this klal doesn't work. Another kash. Bas chamoisei erva, daughter of your mother-in-law, which is basically your wife's sister, erva not Torah. Substitute that for a male's wife. Eishes ben chamoisei, the wife of the son of your daughter of your mother-in-law, muter, she's totally mutter to you, no restriction whatsoever. Another kasha. Bas chamiv erva, daughter of your father-in-law, which is essentially your wife's sister, it's an erva not Torah. Substitute that with Eishes ben chamiv, the wife of the son of his father-in-law, muter, she's totally mutter to you. Another kasha. Chargasai, your stepdaughter, your wife's daughter, erva. Substitute that for a man. Eishes charge, the wife of your stepson, muteres, she's muter. Another kasha. Bas chargasi erva, the daughter of your stepson is an erva because his wife's granddaughter. Eishes ben charge, the wife in that situation, the wife of the son of your stepson, muteres, mutter to you. So this formula doesn't really hold water. What do you mean? That whenever we have an akeva and it's substituted for a zachar, there's an is. What is he coming to include? What was he addressing? What was he referring to when he said his formula? Oh, there's one remaining possibility. Our shaila. The wife of your mother's brother with whom she shares a mother. That was our shaila. Since this type of relative, were she a nekeva, i.e., mother's sister instead of mother's brother's wife, mother's sister, that's an erva min Torah. And therefore, bezachar. If you replace that with a zachar, instead of mother's sister, it's mother's brother's wife. Gozra al ishtem shem shniya. There's an issa shniya there. So even though it's his mother's brother with whom she only shares a mother, that fellow's wife is a shniya. That's a right, our shayla. But bottom line is, what's the difference between this example of an aunt, which you say is asur, and all these examples that we just mentioned? Father-in-law's daughter, all these examples, which are totally mutter. Right? Father-in-law's son's wife. Why is that any different than this case? Answers the Gemara, they're all a step farther removed than this aunt. In the case of the aunt, bechad kedushin mikravla. There's only one act of kedushin required to bring her close. His mother's brother's wife. So his mother's brother is a blood relative. That wife came into the family through one kedushin. So it's one connection. And therefore it's close enough to be us. Hani, as opposed to all these examples just mentioned, they're twice removed. 2 marriages were required to connect them to him. Ad ikatrei kedushin lo yimakrev lehu. Until you have double kedushin, they don't connect. An example is the Eishes ben Chamev, right? The wife of the son of his father-in-law. How did he get to his father-in-law to begin with? Through his wife. There's one kedushin. His father-in-law had a son who was Mekadesh Ish. It's another kedushin. So it's a double connection. So he's doubly removed, so to speak. That's too far away. There's no Isser Shnia. Bottom line is, we conclude that Eishes, Achia Aim, Hemina Aim, is also included in Shnias. Shalach later of Masharshim Mitav Sanya Rav Papi. He asked Rav Papi like this. Rabbeinu, please teach us. Eishes Achia Aviha Av. What about the following case? A great aunt, the wife of the brother of his father's father. Basically a great aunt. Or another example, another variation of great aunt, V'achois Aviav, sister of his father's father. Mahu, what is the Allah? Middle-amata erva. Since one generation below that is an erva, an aunt is an erva. L'mala nami gozerbe. Take it a generation up, it's also midrabanon. Or perhaps you'll say, Hoy spalag darta, it's already too far removed, and it's not also tashma. Here comes a raya. Mayan shniyas. We had a brisa which listed all the shniyas. Look at chashlo badai. We don't find these great aunts included. Apparently they're mutter. Tana v'shir. Perhaps the brisa listed and left some out. My shir, da shir. Which other ones did he leave out? Which would indicate that he was just presenting a partial list and explain that he left, and which would lead us to perhaps speculate that he left out these as well. Which ones did he leave out? Shir, shniyas, Reb Chia. He left out other shniyas presented by Reb Chia further down on the Chav Beis. So it was just a partial list. Perhaps he left out the great aunts as well, which are perhaps mut asr, but they're not included on his incomplete list. But, says the Gemara, Meimar, he was machshir achshir be'eshes achi avi aviv u'ba'achois avi aviv. All these great aunts, he was machshir. Amali Rav Hillel Rav Ashi. Rav Hillel asked Rav Ashi, how can he do that? I personally noticed Shniyos Mar Breder Ravana, a list of Shniyos presented by Mar, the son of Ravana, Uksivan Shitzri Lisur, which included 16 variations of Shniyos. How do you get to 16? My love, should we not assume Tamni, 8 are Demasni, so the 8 of the Mishnah, of the Brisa that we had, Vishistri Reb Chia, and the 6 of Reb Chia coming up soon. That gets us to 14. Vanach Tati, and these 2 great aunts, which are also Asr. Hashitzri, a total of 16. According to your count, it's more. Shivsri Havya, and they're really 17. What about the last conclusion we had about mother's brother with whom she shares a mother, that fellow's wife? We've concluded that fellow's Asr as well. So it's really 17. Holy Kash, that's not a Kash. Because Hanach Tarti, the Dami Lahadadi, these 2 variations of great aunts are very similar in nature. They're counted as 1. Vashitzer, and therefore only have 16. But still the Kasha is back at Kasha, because I noticed 16 that are awesome. We must have included great aunts as well. So how could I be machshir? Amalei Sir Rav responds to Rav Hillel. Going to you. Suppose you would have found that list and it would have said that these are mutter. Would you have relied on it? The Mar Bred Ravana Michasim Alayu. Was Mar Bred Ravina signed? Did he sign on the dotted line? Do you know it's a reliable quotation? Michasim Alayu. So you wouldn't have relied on it to be matter. Hashtanami. Now as well, the Ksivli Isura. It seems like we have a list of Isurim in his name. It's not necessarily a proper attribution not necessarily a reliable quote. Lav mar braid ravona chasam alayu. His name isn't really signed on that thing. You're not sure if it's an authoritative version of his shita, and therefore you cannot ask from that onto a memar who was machsher great ants. Okay, time for a brief chazar of today's daf. We found the remozim, various remozim for the concept of shniyos midrabanon. What are the shniyos? So in Torah, the imoy is asur, the shniyos are aim imoy and aim aviv. It's not considered gzera, as the Gemara says. They're all considered bei imo rabsa, great grandmothers, and we bundle them all together. Eishes aviv is asur min Torah. Eishes avi aviv is midrabanon. Now the issur there just keeps on going. As far away as you go, it's still going to be asur, whether it's Eishes Avi Aviv or Eishes Avi Aviv, etc., because in that branch, in that line, you have Eishes Aviv, which is Minat Torah. However, when it comes to Eishes Avi Imoy, there, as the Iri says, it stops right there, it cuts. It doesn't continue any further. And by the way, the reason why we allow ourselves to make an Isser on Eishes Avi Imoy, says the Gemara, because they're both considered Bei Abu Rabsa, the home, the family of his great-grandfather. Therefore, we put it all together as one, and we make the Issa D'Rabbanan. Min Torah, the Eishes Achia Aviv, Mina Av, the aunt, wife of his father's brother with whom he shares a father, is also Min Torah. On account of that, we impose Yisurim, all other types of versions of aunts. They're all considered Bei Doidi, the aunt's home, and we don't draw a distinction between one and the other. However, Yesh Lahen Hefsek, they stop right there. We answer that Isha, but not further up the line. For instance, Eishes Achi Aviv Menaim, if it's Eishes Achi Avi Aviv Menaim, that is not Asr, because there is no Issa D'Oraisa in that neighborhood. Next we have Kalasai, son's wife. That's also Minat Torah. The Shniya to that is Kalas B'nai, his son's wife. And that just keeps on going, because in that line, in that branch, we have Issa D'Oraisa, as opposed to Kalas B'tai, where there is no Issa D'Oraisa to be found. The Issa there is only because it might be confused with Kalas B'nai. Therefore, the Issa is limited and restricted to Kalas B'tai, but not Kalas Bas B'tai. We concluded that actually we have a full list of 16 or 17 arayas, which include other arayas, which will be discussed by Hashem in tomorrow's daf. Haslacha Rabbi to you, and all the best.